Okay, now this great awakening that we are all in, that the whole planet is in, I'll make a brief summary of where we've come. The whole planet shifted energetically into the love vibration at the winter solstice last December. And so if it looks like it's business as usual and the same old stuff is going down everywhere, it isn't really the same. Something deep in the foundations of the universe and of the earth has shifted. And so where are we? Well, I've been saying we are in the birth of a new age. It requires new ideas. And I have been laying out in the talks that have come so far some of the necessary and new ideas. Beginning with this term consciousness that has appeared in modern science, but points totally beyond modern science to a whole new view of the universe where consciousness and not matter or matter and energy is the fundamental term. And so I'm proposing that the true basis of the universe is consciousness. Now, this is my new Copernican revolution. I'm shifting our basic fundamental terms for explaining things from matter to consciousness. Most people think matter produces consciousness. It's just the other way around. And so, of necessity, I reinterpreted for you the whole of modern science to put the science of consciousness on a firm footing. And I'm going on to spell out the consciousness universe. This universe has a place for, first of all, it means a new earth picture. That the earth is not something mute. It's not mere matter. It's not things. It's not commodities and resources. The earth consists of conscious beings like ourselves, living, conscious, spiritual beings. And so let's let the barriers we put between ourselves and all other beings go down. Animals also raise their animals with love and affection, raise their young with love and affection. I'm going to talk about this in a few minutes. And so there's new images for the earth, a rewrite of the earth, and so a rewrite of everything connected with the earth and generally put down throughout the ages along with the earth, like women, the body, sex, and the feminine. The consciousness universe, consciousness has field properties. The consciousness universe has a place for the feminine as a great oneness, as the greater, richer, more inclusive view of things. This universe also has a place for reincarnation, as the old universe picture did not. And reincarnation affords us a breathtaking glimpse into the true causalities of the universe, namely that it functions by plan and purpose, by what Aristotle called final causality or intent. Contrast this with the Cartesian worldview, where we are chance and necessity, matter and mechanism, pushed around by the forces. We are here with reasons for being here. And if we do, with reincarnation, we make a major rewrite of human identity. We are not just fragile biochemical machines, the victims of genes, drives, and parents. We are immortal, eternal beings who reincarnate, who come to the earth for a short while to realize certain goals and achieve certain abilities, and then we leave for other parts of either the physical or purely spiritual universes. And finally, this universe has a place for spirit, the fundamental term of all religion. Spirit is simply infinite consciousness. All of reality formed out of this consciousness divine and sacred throughout. And the consciousness universe has a place for the love that spirit is, an insight that has almost been buried by religious tradition. The love that spirit is everywhere. And it's not really an emotion, it's a great oneness. And this is something one can go out in the world, the fine, fresh world that spirit is and has made. Let your boundaries go and you can find this oneness anywhere. And of course, this is the view of the native North American people. And so beginning in the heart of modern science, we have rewritten the earth, we have rewritten the universe through reincarnation, and now we have rewritten spirit, because the consciousness universe has a place for spirit, and this term consciousness is a fine, fresh term to look at these deepest truths of religion. And it allows us a whole new understanding of divinity. God is not just up in heaven. Spirit is here. Creation is spirit. It is not one thing, nature, in which some other thing, spirit, indwells. It is spirit. And I am proposing that the true fundamental term for the universe is spirit. And spirit exists in two forms. Spirit formless, spirit in form. That's it. And so we have completed a new view of the universe, and with it a new science, a new understanding of the earth, gender, all those things that connected with the earth, a new understanding of the universe, a new understanding of spirit, a new set of fundamental terms for the most basic features of reality. I summarize it in 8 terms. They're all capitalized. Spirit, consciousness, love, oneness. Those terms are essentially interchangeable depending on what emphasis one wants to make. And then the feminine, the earth, magic, mystery. 8 fine terms to spell out the whole nature of the reality that we are in, and ultimately to make sense of ourselves, who we are, what we're supposed to be doing here, and who and what the earth is, and who, what, and where divinity is. These terms are not in the great tradition. They belong to the negligibles of history, everything that the great tradition despised, put down, and attempted to totally repress. The truth we need and seek at this point is not in our high culture. It's in everything that high culture has put down. Okay, now, Einstein said somewhere, we are schoolboys playing on a beach and we can never know the universe. I say, not so. Dare to believe that the universe is simple, complex but not complicated, and that we are part and parcel in and of the universe that we are trying to know, and we can understand it. And so I've laid out a few basic new terms, in terms of which to understand just about everything. Okay, now I'm going to speak in short segments from now on, because we are going to lay in what now has to happen on the planet. Okay, now let's come back to the earth, and where we find ourselves in the early part of the 3rd millennium. We are in deep trouble with the earth. Everybody's attention at this point is focused on the collapsing financial markets, the collapsing economies, the loss of jobs, the slowdown everywhere, people out of work, a great deal of fear everywhere. hopefully on its way out. What is really collapsing in the modern world are the Earth's ecosystems, millions of years in the making. The fisheries have gone or are going. The forest is being destroyed. The oceans are at the tipping point. Deserts everywhere increasing. Supplies of drinking water shrinking. We are in a crisis that we have caused for the earth that is so monumental and so horrendous, we can't even begin to get our minds around it. And all of it owes to a single cause, human activity, based on human arrogance and human ignorance. All around us, our life support systems are going down the tubes. We have never recognized that the earth is our life support system. We have despised and rejected the earth, put the earth down, tried to elevate ourselves to always the highest place in being the very goal of evolution. Human beings have caused a crisis for the planet that is so monumental we cannot even think about it, and very few people are laying out the real outlines of what we have done here and what's coming down on us. Okay, back up. Let me give you some perspective on all of this. Everybody knows at this point that there's something deeply amiss with our connection to the planet. These great storms, these droughts everywhere, famines, diseases, the death and destruction that are going down in other countries, even in America. Let me give you a perspective on this, because my hope is that if we can know our true predicament, if we can know the truth about where we are and how we got here, we can do something about it. That ultimately it's a case of bringing our love to the earth and getting the right ideas in our minds. First of all, let me give you a perspective. The earth is 4.5 billion years old. She has been evolving this incredibly complex array of living forms for 4.5 billion years. We come at the very tail end of evolution, and she has done it with no help from us whatsoever. We have been destroying the planet ever since we got here. It isn't that simple. Actually, when the goddess presided here, the planet was not degraded, and societies were healthy, harmonious, and peaceful. The wholesale destruction of the planet came in when the men took over. The forest around the Mediterranean was gone by Plato's time, and the destruction has continued unabated. We have been making war on the planet. It began as simply taking ourselves out of nature, at least we thought we were, and defining ourselves as something other than nature. It has ended by making war on the planet. This destruction was given its greatest impulse by the, impotence is a good word for it. We have almost driven the earth into extinction, but she is not powerless at all. This whole destruction of the planet was accelerated with the Industrial Revolution and the advent of the kind of technology that now allows us to wreak havoc with the earth in ways that were never possible up until now. And scientists say that in the early part of the 20th century, human beings caused an extinction of living species greater than anything in the whole of our previous history. 4.5 billion years of evolution. If evolution is plotted on the course of a single day, we human beings arrive at 11 seconds to midnight. And we have nearly, in that brief time, done the planet in. Let me give you some picture of how it used to be. The oceans were once teeming with fish. The great whales, the dolphins, fish of every kind and description, sea plants everywhere, rich coral reefs, home to millions of strange and exotic species. Where are they now? Gone. All of the earth once teemed with animals, birds, all kinds of wildlife. When Lewis and Clark, the early explorers of America, described their experience of America, game was so plentiful, they said, that every foot there was another animal. Now think about that. It's a highly rich environment. But the early explorers of America came here and found a land flowing with milk and honey that they could rip off to make money. And this has been our way ever since. We have destroyed the fish of the oceans. We have destroyed all of these wonderful animal species who were once free and prolific over the whole of North America. European farmers had trashed Europe with their farming practices, and then they came to America and trashed the prairie. The prairie once was dotted with buffalo. Where are they now? Shot from trains for sport. The buffalo have the kind of hoofs that are perfectly adapted to the prairie sod, that aerated the prairie. Cows trample it to bits, and so we've had one dust bowl after another, topsoil that has been thousands of years in the making, blown away. And because the land is dried up, the water table falling. We have destroyed the prairie. There isn't almost anything we have not destroyed. North America was once covered with forest. Where is it now? For miles and miles of asphalt and cars. When you drive through America, you're driving through a desert. It's a desert compared to what it once was. The destruction of the earth. It has reached a frenzied pace in the early 20th century, and the destruction goes on unabated. We have wreaked havoc with the ecosystems of the earth. Well, there are ideas behind it. We have reached such destruction that now we are at a unique moment in the whole of our history where we can foresee the end of ourselves, because our destruction of the earth is about to become our own self-destruction. The end is in sight for us if we do not change our ways. People have to wake up to what the human race has been doing to the planet and why. What's happening with the planet is all there in the oil rig explosion in the Gulf a year or so ago with BP Petroleum. The top executives were all down there on their latest rig, toasting themselves, and no doubt the money that they were all going to make off the oil, and whammo, the whole thing blew up under them. And the effects of that oil spill are still ramifying through the Gulf, every marine species affected. The good thing about that oil spill is that for many months after it, NBC on the nightly news, day after day, taught people about the truth of an ecosystem. Now, human beings have never understood an ecosystem. I don't know where to start with this. Let me just give it a thought. Because ecosystems are systems. Everything is connected to everything else. Human beings have never realized how connected we are to everything else. We have always denied our connection, and we have insisted on our independence from all other beings. And I have described the whole of history as the shoring up of this great lie that we are separate from all other beings. And look out the window. Other beings are separate from each other. At least that's what it looks like. And we have taken the earth to be discrete, separate, disconnected, linear arrays interacting mechanistically. That's all we've ever been able to see the earth really as. And what's being called into question in the modern world is this view, which I have called the Cartesian universe, this view of matter. All Descartes did was take our ordinary sense of the world. We're intelligent beings with consciousness, everything else is just matter, and turn it into a whole set of fundamental terms for a worldview and of modern science. This view is up for us. Okay. The crisis we have caused for the planet has brought us to the point where we can foresee our own extinction. It has also made abundantly clear that this long ago decision to take ourselves out of nature and pretend we had no connection was a very stupid decision, as it turned out, because we are deeply connected. And now we cannot not know this. And everyone is beginning to realize with these great storms, we needed some other way to think. And so we need to lay out the old ways of thinking and move into some new ones. Now, okay, here we are with the earth systems collapsing all around us. You can see already how much has gone of what was here. What is happening at this point is I'm going to describe this in a minute. We have caused a catastrophe that's so enormous, I don't even know where to begin to describe it. At this point, most of the forest in North America is gone, and the budworm is poised to take out the whole of the boreal forest, weakened by poison and global warming. The bark beetle does not die off any longer in the winter. It multiplies all the time. It will take out the whole of the forest. The Arctic ice is melting, ending really the lives of the polar bears and a lot of the seals. The water levels are rising. The coral reefs are disintegrating. The fisheries are collapsing everywhere. There are almost no whales left on the planet. And we have shot, cut, poisoned, or netted just about everything. There are two scenarios. Okay. You need to do some reading and find out just how it once was and how it is now. And the tragedy is that, as one of my friends put it, the worst that we will know of the planet is the best that the next generation will know. The planet is going down the tubes, and it's happening all around us. Human beings have caused an extinction of living forms as that which went with the dinosaurs, when 97% of all living forms disappeared. Many scientists estimate that's how many species we will drive into extinction. 97% of all living forms. Then it was because of an asteroid. Now, owing to an idiot, human arrogance and human ignorance that has never cared for any species other than itself and has denied its connection to the planet and its relationship with every other species on the planet. Walk out of doors. The trees, the grasses, they're millions of years old. They've had their act here together for millions of years. It took the Earth 60 million years to make a rainforest. We are destroying it in 60. These species are millions of years in the making. Do you know how long that is? Turned by us almost overnight into unusable junk. The energy-rich storehouses and treasures of the earth, either devoured by us or turned into junk. The day of reckoning is here, basically. We have been absolutely, willfully blind to the effects of what we are doing and the effects of our wasteful lifestyle. And the effects of the way we think on the planet. Now the end is in sight for us. The day of reckoning is here. The day of reckoning is most often a day of wrath. I am hoping that it will be a day of awakening, and that these great storms are a call to awaken to what we have not been aware of up until now, comfortably, blissfully ignorant, and now we must face the consequences of our action. There are two scenarios for what is coming down on us. First of all, there is the shape of the crisis. 97% of all living forms to go with us. When we drive forms into extinction, they never reappear. That's it. We are living on a planet already so degraded that our ancestors would be astonished at what we have been up to here. 97% of all life forms to disappear with us. You know, the human race has pretty well forfeited its right to be here. We have no respect whatsoever for the planet. There are now two scenarios, the two major scenarios for what is coming down on us all. The first is the most drastic. It's that of James Lovelock. Lovelock is the man who proposed the Gaia hypothesis, namely that the earth as a whole is a living organism. Lovelock's picture of the human race: we are on a pleasure boat drifting down the Niagara River without the least idea that Niagara Falls is just ahead. And Lovelock's predictions are that by the year 2100, the human population on Earth, which is now at 7 billion, an enormous burden on the planet, our population now is 7 billion roughly. By the 2100, that enormous population will have shrunk to 500 million living around the poles, because the planet is heating up, and our numbers will shrink due to drought, due to wars over water, wars over land, and everything else imaginable. And Lovelock's prediction is that it doesn't matter what we do at this point. If we could take every car off the planet tomorrow, because the cars produce greenhouse gases, which heat up the planet, if we could take them, it wouldn't make any difference. That we have set in motion irreversible events. Okay, that's not a great picture. It's about 80 years away. That's not very far. 80 years to see that kind of extermination of our species. The second scenario is that of indigenous peoples all over the world. They have a prophecy that these are the times of the reappearance of the feminine in history. And that is something I've been sharing with you. The reappearance of the feminine. And part and parcel of that reappearance is the shift from the fear into the love modes that we have moved into. And the native people say that the feminine has been flowing in for some time. Around 2012, it peaked. The inflow of feminine energy peaked. And after that, it will flow in steadily until about the next, say, 2300. By the year 2300, the human race will have attained its greatest maturity. And at that point, the future looks very beautiful if the earth is still around. I'm hoping that the native people have it right. They're much more in tune with the planet on an intuitive level than the computers that James Lovelock is consulting, the computer programs that project probabilities, scientific probabilities. I am hoping that the native people have it right. They are the heart-conscious people. Their experience of the planet is in fact the feminine. They experience the planet the same way as the deep feminine experiences the planet, as the shamans and the mystics experience it. Two very different scenarios. But even Lovelock admits, it's up to Gaia. We don't know how powerful the goddess is. We don't know how flexible her decrees are, but an enormous humbling of the human spirit is at order in this point. Now, my hope is that the day of reckoning is a day of awakening. That these immense storms and these droughts are really spirit, once again, taking a hand in human affairs. And spirit in the form of these insults to our way of life is calling the human race to account. And it is calling us to rethink, to wake up, and to rethink ourselves from the ground up. Because what we have done to the planet is just the severest indictment of the whole of civilization. All of its ideas, all of its attitudes, all of its practices. My hope is that if we can know our predicament, we may be able to do something about it. It's a question of getting clear on the wrong ideas we have held about the planet and the ourselves, and bringing in the love, re-enkindling the love that all of us can feel for the earth. Getting clear about the earth and getting ourselves right with the earth, because the true foundation of civilization is not reason, it's not our economies, It's not finances. The true foundation of civilization is the earth. Human beings have to come down to earth. We have spent our last several thousand years up in the clouds, developing a theoretical science for the universe, looking for spirit up there. The human race has to come down to earth. Earth is the foundation of the civilization. We have to get the earth right, and we have to get ourselves right with the earth. Now that's where we are in our history. And my hope is that behind the crisis are ideas, and that if we can lay bare what they are and change them, then we stand a chance. And even though we are a terrible burden in our overpopulated state on the planet, if we can bring the love that is flowing into the earth plane right now, if we can bring that love into the earth, then even though we are overcrowded, we may be doing something that would actually help the earth. Bringing love here and bringing love to the earth. And so let's come down to earth. We are a civilization that is based on the destruction of the earth, that actually requires it. The GNP, that is a measure of, quote, growth, actually is an indication of how well we are degrading the planet. The Harvard School of Business, what it's all about is teaching greater skill in ravaging. Behind this crisis are ideas. This crisis is to be laid at the doorstep of religion. With the general attitude of religious people that it was all made for us to do with as we like. Genesis, the story of creation, only human beings are made in the image of spirit. No other animal or plant is. And then, as we well know, it's only some human beings, mainly male human beings, and then it's really only some male human beings are the divine beings on the planet. Nothing else is divine. It's a pretty lonely place, you know. We have so separated ourselves from the planet. We are the only divine being here, and nothing else is. Genesis also gave the human race the two worst precepts it ever got hold of. Go forth and multiply, have dominion over the earth and subdue it. And so this roughly translates as it was made for us to do with as we like. Well, it wasn't, and it isn't. And the only appropriate attitude for religious people at this point is wise stewardship. The planet does not belong to us. It belongs to someone else. We are responsible for it, and we are accountable for what we have done to it. Okay, the crisis owes to religion and a contempt for the earth that goes way, way back. The earth is just a way station on getting to heaven. I have mentioned the dualisms of the Piscean age. Heaven is divine, the earth isn't. Man is divine, woman isn't. The soul is divine, the body isn't. These deep prejudices are still driving us all nuts, and we have to get beyond them. The crisis is to be laid at the doorstep of modern science. First of all, with the Industrial Revolution, that has enabled us to create these monumentally enormous machines that can overwhelm any power that the earth has to stand against them. And then, thanks to science, we have been enabled to outstrip all of our checks and balances. In the Earth's ecosystems, there's a very delicate balance among all species. One doesn't crowd out all the others, and there's a balance that has to be kept. We have been enabled to to stave off the diseases that regularly decimate human populations. We have been enabled to solve all kinds of problems of agriculture and whatnot, to allow our species to grow beyond the bounds of a healthy relationship to the planet. And, in the rest of nature, there's only one kind of cell. Only cancer cells grow without checks and balances. And they usually end by destroying their host. That's where we are. We are an overblown and an overcrowded and an arrogant and ignorant species who think that the planet was made for us. And of course, all of this is fueled by the scientific image of nature as something just weighable and measurable. Things, commodities and resources, devoid of inner life, devoid of consciousness. At this point in our history, the only person who's devoid of consciousness are human beings. And the crisis is to be laid at the doorstep of philosophy. The contempt of the great philosophers for the planet goes right back to the very start. Plato wondering if there was a form for mud. Matter, way back, being considered as something utterly devoid of inner life and devoid of consciousness, just stuff to be pushed and pulled around by the forces. We've created a dead world. And first of all, we killed it in ideas, and now we're killing it in the lived life. And so with a little help from technology, now enormous factory ships vacuum sweep the seas, scooping up everything that lives. There are immense machines clear-cut the forest, the most unhealthy forest practice that was ever invented. Clear-cuts almost never come back. And there are enormous trawlers that trawl the ocean floor at its base, destroying the ecosystem. They destroy the whole maritime ecosystem at the base. That's what's going on. We have created a dead planet, and our civilization is based on the ongoing destruction of the earth. And we are at a point where this is going to turn in our own self-destruction unless we make a monumental change in our ways of thinking and our attitudes to the planet. Okay. New ideas. Now, the wholesale destruction of the planet came in with the patriarchies. The patriarchies that the planet, the prophet Nostradamus referred to as the barbaric empire of the patriarchies, is crumbling all around us in the modern world. The patriarchies have been in place for many thousands of years. They're crumbling. Long ago, women were edited out of the discussion, period. A fact that Peter Kingsley, who wrote a book called In the Dark Places of Wisdom, refers to as, quote, the barbaric subordination of women at the dawn of history. And so certain male dominance has ruled the planet. The male, I'm going to talk about gender because the way things cleave along gender lines is quite amazing. But we in fact come out of a long history of male domination, where the ideas about the earth and about ourselves have been given by male minds and may suffer from certain limitations of that mind. We are at a place in our history. The Piscean era of male thinking has ended. The Aquarian age is coming in with new impulses. It is to be about the feminine. And so let me just back up to what's going on in the world. The whole planet has shifted energetically into the love. These are also the times of the reappearance of the feminine and the advent of women, finally, into public office, into public roles, into being taken seriously, an event which Nostradamus also foresaw as the greatest event in the whole of history. And now the Dalai Lama has been quoted as saying, the world will be saved by Western women. So new things are entering into history, not just the crisis that we have caused for the planet and the ideas that are behind it that come out of the Piscean age, but here are new impulses, the feminine, women, the love, a great many other terms associated with the feminine. One of them I am proposing being consciousness. If there's a major single term that characterizes the whole of previous ways of looking at things, it is separate. Human beings are separate from the planet. We are separate from each other. And everything on the planet is separate from each other. And we have made things so separate that now we can't reconnect. The new way of looking at things that I propose first comes with consciousness is connected. And that is the essence of an ecosystem. Everything is connected. The earth consists of interesting systems of consciousness at all levels and depths, interrelated, interdependent, intersubjective. We're related physically to the ecosystems and to other beings in the ecosystems. We're related in terms of chemistry, our atoms and molecules, our food sources. We're related. Everything in an ecosystem is interconnected. And nobody knows at this point where the vital links are, which is the key player. Maybe it's some little animal like a ferret that's the key player, and if you knock out that linchpin, then the whole thing unravels. The key new notion is we are connected. And ecology is our newest discipline. It tries to see living beings in terms of their systems of connection. And we are all dependent and interdependent. All of those disappearing species, the species that human beings are hounding into extinction, are vital links in our own food chains. We will end by doing ourselves in. We have always taken ourselves to be the lords and masters of the planet. The planet will do as we say. Well, the truth is, we're the most vulnerable animal of all. We are at the top of all the food chains. The poisons that we put on the land and in the water in an attempt to gain more than the land can provide are doing us in. We are little walking toxic time bombs. And they will go on doing us in. And as we destroy the links in our own food chains, our own food sources will weaken and will no longer support us. Whatever high and lofty notions we have had about ourselves with respect to every other thing, never honoring the right to life of any other species than ourselves, never acknowledging the importance of any species of ourselves. It doesn't matter what highfalutin notions we have had about who we are and our total difference from everything else. We have simply proven ourselves unworthy of all the bright array of beings who share the planet with us. And the earth may well withdraw her support of us. That's where we are in our history. It's up to Gaia. And nobody knows at this point how Gaia's decisions are going to be made. And so, new impulses, the feminine, women, love, the planet shifting energetically into the love already, and the sudden awareness that we are in fact connected, and we have to wake up to the full implications of what that means, that every species on the planet is important. Okay, our modern systems of life. How are women, how is the feminine going to make the difference? It's a different impulse. It's a different impulse. The women and men function under different impulse. The male is actually men have been, I don't want to put the male down any more than I have. The whole of the winter of the human race that we struggle to leave behind us is all bound up with the ways of the male values. They're fear-based and they function by control. These enormous hierarchies in which we all find ourselves, they're fear-based. Women are love-based and true power belongs to women. And it's time for women to come out of the shades and shadows as we are and take back our power and use it for the good of the earth and for the good of everyone. Now I'm going to say more about these two very different impulses, because if the human race can wake up to the ideas that our false ways of thinking about the earth and about women and about others, we can do something about it. And if we can bring the love here, we'll make a difference. The only thing that is going to stave off Lovelock's scenario is love. If we can bring the love here, maybe we can pull it off. We all come out of thousands of years of male domination, of a one-sided rule by the masculine principle, out of all balance or relationship with the feminine. This principle functions by fear. It comes from fear, and it uses fear to control others. That is the winter of the human race. T.S. Eliot, writing, the poet, I will show you something worse than death. I will show you fear. That's why fear is up for us right now. This tremendous tradition of high culture is disintegrating all around us. The human race is struggling to leave behind its winter of fear and separation that have been bound up with the male ways, and to move into its springtime of love and connectedness that are bound up with the reappearance of women, at first time taking women seriously as having validity in their own right and worth being heard from, the validity of women, the recognition that we have never gotten the earth right because of this need to shore ourselves up by despising it, and the values of the future of springtime will be all bound up with the ways of the feminine and of women, and the love that is now uppermost on the planet, coming in with the women, coming in with the feminine, with everybody's feminine sides, and the realization of the shortcomings of the high culture that we live in. And so we have to get clear on why this is going to make the difference. So far the Margaret Thatchers and the Golda Meirs and the Indira Gandhis don't seem very different from the men. But it's been a long, hard struggle for women to get themselves taken seriously at all. But the hope of survival here on the planet depends on the women. Women's values are different from male values. This was very clear at the Rio summit on the earth. The men simply wanted to hang on to their turf and if possible get more. The women in their alternative sun were enraged that the children of women in other countries were going hungry to bed at night. All over the planet, women's concerns are the same: their own health and their spirituality, and the health of their children, the health of other women and their children, and the health of the environment. That is, women share a common situation that makes for enormous solidarity with all women and with the earth herself. And in fact, we come out of tradition that women are just as much despised as the earth. They are all to be trampled underfoot as men have seen fit. It's a pretty limited tradition. We are struggling to enter into our springtime of love and connectedness. Our systems of life, our economies, our financial system, the destruction of the earth, are all a reflection of male values and male ways. And they are collapsing in the modern world, along with the systems of thought that support them. The system is going, and it has to. It doesn't work, it's corrupt, it doesn't respect the individual, it doesn't respect life, it doesn't respect the earth. And a system of life, our economic systems and financial systems that do not respect the earth cannot last. And in the modern world, they're coming apart. This is nothing to be upset about. What we are now being called to do is to let these old attitudes, these male attitudes of conquering the planet, of subduing it, we need to let these old attitudes go. We need to realize that the system enshrined at its heart, these kind of destruction, these kind of destructive attitudes. And we have to rebuild along lines of the feminine. So it's part and parcel of our task at this time in history to start spelling out what that would mean. What it would mean to look at the planet through feminine lenses, and to look at the old systems as simply an embodiment of the fear and control impulse, which has to shore itself up with a tissue of lies and deception and self-deception, of manipulation, of unhealth. We are being run by thought systems that are sick. And the state of the earth is an absolute reflection of the state of human consciousness. It is depraved at this point. It's very sick, and it's because of all these attitudes, fear-based. The source of every sickness is fear. Get fear out of your life, and everything falls into place. And so we have a choice. These systems enshrine at their heart conquer and subdue, aggression and repression, lies, all kinds of deception and self-deception and fear. I would contrast that with a new way of looking at things that come in certainly with women. Accepting, affirming, embracing, supporting the well-being of all, recognizing the validity of all, the honoring of all, be they human beings or be they beings on the planet, and the deep down knowledge that the planet is sacred and a divine being, and honoring her as such. Women have been pushed aside and shut down with the earth, despised and rejected of men. They are the stone rejected by the builder. And if they can make their ancient identification with the earth their strength, then the planet is going to have a chance. Women have a very good sense of what it is to build from the base. They do not impose their values by reason from the top down. Reason, the great philosophers have never been able to make the connection between the life of the mind and the life of the planet. Women know a lot about the life of the planet, and well, if you look at history, our differences are fairly obvious. Women give life, men take it. There they are. And if the women, it's a time for everyone to wake up to their responsibility at this point in our history. We are all responsible. We are all accountable. And the only ethical precept for any one of us, I am responsible for all. And that means not just other human beings, and not just white males. It means everyone, and it means every little creepy-crawly beast that shares the planet with us. Every form of life is sacred, not just life from conception to birth. Every rainforest, every animal, every little thing is important. Every little beetle, every insect. And just about every species on Earth is playing some important role in the preservation and the functioning of the Earth. And so here are a different set of values. And let me put the problem to you in a nutshell. We are a death-centered world. Our civilization stinks of death. It is all up for us in an orgy of destruction over the whole Earth. Armies everywhere poised to do one another in. The corporations rushing to rip off whatever is left of the planet without any loyalty, any regard for the rights of others. We are a death-centered world. We have to convert to a life-centered world. Our whole civilization is based on destroying the planet. We have to take that civilization and turn it around so that every single livelihood, which now either directly or indirectly destroys the planet, enhances the planet, furthers the well-being and the life in abundance of every species. And I am proposing one goal that can serve as a uniting force for all our disparate elements and all our various feminine and masculine ways of being, a living earth. Sometimes I refer to it as let's restore the Garden of Eden to what it was. Let the aim be to restore the planet to what it was when Lewis and Clark were here. The white man came to America that was home and paradise to the native peoples, and gradually over the years has turned it into the white man's version of paradise, which is a big home in the suburbs with 2 cars in the garage and a TV in every room that's on all day. The white man's dream, suburbia and parking lots. What the native people had and the way they could see and appreciate the earth is much closer to what the original Garden of Eden was like than anything the white man has been able to create. That is our task, to emerge out of a long, dark winter of fear and separation, which has been worse for the earth, the native people, and women. It has been worse than any nuclear winter could possibly be. If you have any curiosity at all, start reading what men have been writing about both of these realities, and you'll understand why women are enraged. They are enraged when they read their own history of what men have done to women, and said about women and done to them, and the planet. The hope is that there is a new impulse. It's the women. Love is coming in with them. Women with their sense for the sacredness of all life, all living forms, and with their ancient identification with the earth. And so what is it to rebuild along feminine lines? It starts with respect for every form of life, and then respect for the earth. And then it turns to the concepts that will allow us to respect the earth. We don't respect the earth because we don't think there's anything there to respect. It's just things. It's put there for us to do with what we like. We don't hear the voices of the earth, the winds, the animals, the cries of birds. We don't hear them because we think they're not voices. They're just the whirrings of the machinery. We have denied, I think, the refusal of so many modern thinkers to grant consciousness to the earth is just the last-ditch effort of human beings to promote themselves to the highest place. We are separate from everything else. We are superior to everything else. We are better than everything else. We are made in the image of God. No other species is. Well, it's hardly what it means to be made in the image of God, to have destroyed virtually everything, every being that the Creator has made. God is a living God. He creates billions of living forms. We have wreaked havoc and made war on every beautiful being that Spirit has made. When you want to see something of perfection, what perfection really is, look at a field mouse, look at a butterfly, take a little frog and look at it. They have a beauty, a quality, a perfection, a being together with themselves that human beings cannot even begin to attain. Spirit creates beings. Human beings create things, junk. Look at the piles of cars on waste car lots. Take a look at any one of our gadgets. What we emulate in the way of beauty and perfection is so far from whatever Spirit thinks about perfection and self-perfection. All of our spiritualities, our service to God, has tended to be in degrading the planet. The planet was just a way station to be belabored in order to win merit on getting to heaven. Now, I'm taking my time with this. We have to put in each step of the argument. We come out of male ways of thinking. The hope for the earth and the planet is that, hey boys, the women are here, move over. That women bring something new with them that hasn't been here for thousands of years. And I say, they do bring something new. And it's this whole love, light, and life impulse, the sense for the sacredness of the earth. The ideas that I have been elaborating in these talks are very distinctly feminine ways of thinking. And they're very distinctly, I would say, a woman's cosmology, a woman's metaphysics, and a metaphysics of the feminine. A feminine metaphysics. These terms, love, oneness, they're not in the great cultures. They are in the East, but under different labels. And somehow the men always warp these terms in order to retain the endless powers and privileges and their various forms of empire that male minds seem unable to do without. I'm going to talk a lot about this. Males always have to be making war on something. This is not women's ways. The war on terror, the war on drugs, the war on poverty, and because you tend to get what you focus on in a consciousness universe and a consciousness society, you get what you focus on, you get more of it, which is generally the way things go, which is why one war immediately leads to another war, which then leads to another war in the interest of attaining perpetual peace. On it goes. You know, these things are really very bound up with the ways of men, much given to Duya, and also much given to the founding of religions with themselves at the center. Kind of hilarious, actually, when you realize what a clever hoax it all has been. And, now we are waking up to the facts that can't be denied, and we have to do something about them. Men tend to think in these exclusive ways, them and us, enemies and friends, either or. Women don't define themselves this way. They define themselves inclusively. The feminine consciousness contains all other beings, and it's high time that the men heard from it. It's the female voice of the cosmos. The Dalai Lama, Western women will save the world. Well, how will we save it? Because we have the privileged place that many women in other countries who must face life-threatening situations almost every day, we can see the problems, and we have access to an education and the whole of male history, which will enable us to be clear on where we've gone wrong and what the new ideas need to be. We all come out of a tradition that has idolized reason. The truth is that reason isn't the highest principle. Love is. Reason climbs a ladder up to love, and then it must lay down its weapons and serve. Without love, reason just goes and goes and goes. Only love can set reason its goals, and only love can set reason its limits. And love is the feminine principle. That reason has to bow its mind and serve that principle. And then life. Life has never been honored here as a principle. The forces have been honored as principles. Chance and necessity, matter and mechanism have been honored as principles, but not life, because, of course, life is something associated with women. And so, how do we understand living beings? Well, first of all, we kill them, and then we dissect them, and we figure out how it all works, because it's just a piece of machinery, as we all know. And then we reduce it down to physics and chemistry, pushes and pulls of the forces. No wonder we live in a dead world, you know. Okay. New feminine principles that may help us form our springtime of love and connectedness. I have proposed that consciousness is the first and most fundamental, granting that all beings have consciousness, and that consciousness is a totally different kind of thing than the discrete, separate, disconnected view of matter that we have taken reality to be up until now. Consciousness has field properties. We are in an interacting systems of consciousness, a continuum of many forms of consciousness, of which our own is one. And consciousness has to do with oneness and wholeness and interaction, interconnectedness, communion and communication. Finding ourselves in being rather than in doing, and knowing other beings not by dissecting them and weighing and measure them, Descartes' view of matter, but spirit to spirit, soul to soul, consciousness to consciousness. We don't dissect our pets in order to know them. We interact with them just as we interact with other people, through consciousness. There's a little conscious being down there, just as I am. We have different ways of knowing, and consciousness functions through totally different principles than our mechanical world functions. And I'm going to talk more, I'm going to give a whole lot more of the pure science of consciousness. It runs on different lines, one of them being intent, one of them being final causality. goals, reasons for being. Our human existence is laced for reasons for being here. But we have turned ourselves into machines for so long that that's part of the reason that we're in such deep trouble with the planet. We have never taken ourselves to be who we really are, that we're rather powerful little creators, and it's time to put our powers in the service of life rather than death. The impulses of the path have served death. It's a time now of taking male energy, which so easily puts itself into this service, and turning it into the service of life. I can suggest a new balance between these two great principles. Women are the wisdom principle. We know what needs to happen here. We know the kind of problems that we are causing. Men are good at practice. Men are very good at doing. Let women realize what has to happen, and let the men be skillful practice. Design earth-sensitive green technologies. Design communities that work. Once we get our mind around this new perspective, what happens is that reason has to be put at the service of love. Otherwise, reason seems to go quite simply into the service of death. And if we can serve love and light and life, if we can bring love here, we can turn the whole thing around. And so let the two principles, male and female, masculine and feminine, re-establish their connection with one another under these more ultimate uniting concepts: a living planet, a planet that honors life in all of its forms, a planet that is healthy, vibrant, vital, and alive. And that needs to be our goal. And right now it turns into the sense of nurturing and caring for every being on the planet. Nurturing, there's a woman's principle for you. And so I am taking the category of life and love, and I am saying these are fundamental attributes of consciousness. They aren't things that are reducible to atoms and molecules, to physics and chemistry. Life is an irreducible property of consciousness. And the whole universe is alive because there's physical life and there's non-physical life, as when a human being getting back up into the spirit world says, hey, I'm still alive. There he is with no body, no physical body. I'm still alive. The stars are alive. The universe is alive. And a living God and a living universe are one and the same. We're looking out at an inspirited universe. To say everything has consciousness, to say everything is inspirited. They are all alive. And this has implications for how spirit embodies itself in the earth and how we can experience spirit. So, to start off, life is a property of consciousness. Consciousness is the fundamental term here. It opens up to new vistas of comprehending what it is to relate to other beings, for what knowing is, for how to know what spirit is, and for the right questions, both in science and philosophy. Okay, now, so just what is life? An attribute of consciousness. What are living beings? I'm going to propose 7 simple principles. Okay.